I think my mother did exactly the right thing. I think it's absolutely extraordinary that any right-minded thinking parent should believe that would have been an alternative to bring those children down here to London in all that hoo-ha. I just don't know how you could think that that would have been
I think my mother did exactly the right thing. It's incredible, really. Almost 30 years after Princess Diana's shocking death,
28 years after Princess Diana's sudden and shocking death,
Buckingham Palace has just revealed a secret that could change everything we thought we knew about the royal family. During quiet renovations at Kensington Palace, workers found a sealed room, completely untouched since Diana's last days. And inside, they discovered something extraordinary. A jewelry box, elegant and carved, with a message that chills anyone who dares to read it. The initials were simple: D.S. Diana Spencer. When Princess Anne was called to go through the room's contents, what should have been a routine task turned into a shocking journey filled with secrecy, betrayal, and danger. Hidden letters, secret bank details, and Diana's own warnings hinted at a conspiracy she had tried to expose, but someone made sure she never could. And now, Anne is left with a single burning question: who really silenced the people's princess? The hidden chamber. Spring of 2024 brought workers to the less traveled wings of Kensington Palace. What began as simple maintenance soon became extraordinary. Behind layers of dust and an unassuming wooden panel, a forgotten room appeared, completely untouched for decades. Dusty gowns hung in silence. Boxes of handwritten notes and framed photos told stories of a woman adored and scrutinized in equal measure. Anne, summoned for her discretion and seniority, stepped inside, feeling the weight of what she had been called to witness. Initially, Anne had dismissed Diana as overly emotional, too eager for attention, too different. But behind the cameras, away from the public eye, she had grown to respect Diana's devotion to her sons and her causes. As Anne began examining the room, her eyes fell on a single item that seemed to command attention. At the back of a shelf, partly hidden by a silk scarf, lay a jewelry box unlike anything else around it. Made of dark rosewood and inlaid with pearls and sapphires, it shimmered faintly even under dust. Its craftsmanship was flawless, but the inscription inside caught Anne off guard. For those who dare seek truth, D.S. The initials sent a shiver down her spine. Diana Spencer had left a message intended for someone brave enough to look deeper. Anne realized this was no ordinary heirloom. It was a puzzle, a warning, and possibly a guide. Whoever this was for needed courage and insight to uncover it. Later, in her private quarters, Anne placed the box carefully on a velvet cloth, studying the words over and over. The phrase, "for those who dare seek truth," lingered in her mind. With steady hands, she opened it. Inside were exquisite pieces of jewelry: Burmese ruby earrings, a sapphire bracelet, and an emerald and diamond pendant that seemed to glow in the dim light. Yet as she examined each piece, Anne noticed unusual markings etched into the back, symbols, dates, and initials that didn't match any known inventory. Some markings looked like coordinates, others like bank references. One brooch bore what resembled an international banking code. Anne's brow furrowed. These weren't simple keepsakes. They were breadcrumbs, clues pointing to something larger. Then, her thumb pressed against a raised section at the base of the box. A soft click revealed a hidden compartment containing letters, photographs, and a small silver key labeled Zurich Deposit Box 837L. The letters were addressed to Anne in Diana's own hand. The first letter, dated just 3 days before her death, opened with words that froze Anne in place. "If you're reading this, then they succeeded in silencing me." This was not a note of sentiment. It was a warning. Anne sat down, trembling slightly as she began to read, realizing that Diana had uncovered a dangerous truth and that someone had tried to stop her. Diana's writing revealed more than personal thoughts. it detailed a network of corruption. Charities meant to help children and women abroad had been diverted into private accounts, some linked to influential businessmen, others tied to figures inside the royal household. Diana had documented everything meticulously, keeping records of suspicious transfers, meetings with journalists, and conversations with whistleblowers. She had even hidden tapes in secret locations. Anne's view of Diana shifted. She realized Diana's actions were far from impulsive. They were calculated, protective, and strategic. She had documented the dangers around her, aware of predators lurking in plain sight, determined to shield her sons from the consequences. Diana had not feared death, but she had feared what her children might inherit if the truth remained buried. Among the letters was the key to the Swiss deposit box. Diana had left it as a safeguard, an insurance policy to preserve the evidence she could not fully expose. Anne understood that the truth Diana had fought for was still intact, waiting in a vault across Europe. The Swiss vault. Princess Anne's private jet touched down in Zurich under a gray, foggy morning sky. Alone, with only her security detail knowing her location, she carried the key and the tag for deposit box 837L close to her heart. The Swiss bank, known for its secrecy, led her through strict security. In the viewing room, the box was placed before her. Inside were ledgers, receipts, transfers, photographs, and even tapes and digital discs marked with dates and messages like, "If I disappear." The first video revealed Diana speaking directly into the camera. Her voice was calm, her eyes focused. She named names, businessmen, aristocrats, even members of the royal circle, who had used charities as a cover for illicit financial activity, moving money across countries, funding secret deals, and hiding evidence. She detailed threats, tampered brakes, and surveillance that made her life a daily risk. Diana's mission was clear: leave a record for her sons and protect them from a hidden world of corruption. Anne's heart raced. The magnitude of the operation stunned her. Diana had been hunted, tracked, and silenced, yet she had left a trail designed for someone determined enough to follow it. The bank clerk revealed that someone else had inquired about the box just weeks before, claiming to be family. Anne realized she was no longer alone in this race to uncover the truth. Returning to London, Anne felt the weight of her responsibility. Devices were compromised, letters tampered with, and her personal phone was bugged. She enlisted a retired British intelligence officer to sweep for surveillance, discovering bugs and malware designed to track her every move. Her every step was being watched. A mysterious package led Anne to Timothy Radcliffe, Diana's former private secretary, who had remained quietly loyal. Timothy revealed that Diana had trusted a small circle who kept watch over her work, waiting for someone courageous enough to carry the mission forward. Anne learned that official investigations into Diana's death were riddled with omissions. Evidence from Paris had vanished, witnesses silenced, and the infamous white Fiat seen near the crash had been dismissed. Diana had died uncovering the truth, and now Anne had become the target. Threats escalated. Anne found a note under her door. Stop digging or join her. Fear was no longer the point. She understood that Diana's warnings were real, and retreat was no longer an option. Every shadowy figure that had silenced Diana was still at large, and now her sons were at risk. Anne had to act. The network Diana had uncovered was extensive, linking charities, offshore accounts, and powerful individuals across borders. Anne, with Timothy's guidance, traced finances, cross-referenced accounts, and discovered names previously unthinkable, some within the royal family itself. The journalist working with Diana had died mysteriously weeks after her, and a hidden operation labeled Operation Marionette outlined how Diana's movements had been monitored and obstructed. A grainy surveillance photo revealed a second car at the Paris crash site, linking back to associates of palace staff. The crash had not been an accident. Alone in her study, Anne broke down for the first time. tears for Diana, for the sister she had misjudged. Diana's letters, videos, and warnings painted her as far more courageous and aware than anyone realized.
Princess Diana, I think, and her letters, which portray her.
She had been protecting her sons from forces determined to erase the truth. Anne vowed she would not let Diana's mission fail. The danger became immediate. An attempted breach at Prince George's school, a near accident involving Catherine and the children, and constant monitoring confirmed the threat was active. Anne mobilized discreet security teams, scrambling communications and masking her movements. Flash drives, documents, and backup evidence from Diana were carried under cover of darkness. Confrontations followed. Anne stood before senior royals implicated in Diana's hidden reports, presenting evidence that could go public if harm came to William, Harry, or their children. The message was clear. Silence would no longer protect them. At the same time, attempts on the family's safety escalated. Blueprints, surveillance photos, and tampered vehicle brakes revealed an organized effort to intimidate and harm. The warning had been delivered, but Anne was ready. In a public revelation, Anne presented the evidence to the press. For decades, the narrative of Diana's life had been incomplete. The truth, her bravery, strategic foresight, and the danger she faced, was finally exposed. Investigations reopened, officials removed, and offshore accounts frozen. Diana's work, once hidden, was now the foundation for a new legacy. In the weeks that followed, Anne founded the Diana Truth Foundation, dedicated to transparency, whistleblower protection, and investigative journalism. The jewelry box, once a symbol of mystery, revealed a final cassette for William and Harry. Diana's voice, soft yet determined, offered a message of courage, truth, and love. Her mission had been fulfilled, not for fame, but to protect her children and preserve the truth. The story of Diana Spencer had changed. No longer just a princess, she was a protector, a whistleblower, and a mother who fought until her last breath. Through Anne's unwavering resolve, the secrets buried for decades were finally brought into the light. The shadows close in. Princess Anne returned to London with a heavy sense of purpose. The Swiss vault had revealed the full scope of Diana's efforts, but it also made the danger painfully clear. The people who had tried to silence Diana were still active, and now they had a new target: her family. Anne took every precaution, storing Diana's documents, letters, and videos in a secure private location far from the palace. Yet even with security measures, she could sense someone was watching. Her personal phone began to act strangely. Calls clicked and echoed. Letters arrived opened or resealed. Even her secure car suddenly failed to start, a warning Anne immediately suspected was no accident. She called in a retired intelligence officer, a trusted friend, to sweep her home and devices. Bugs, malware, hidden cameras. Everything confirmed her worst fear. Someone knew she had the evidence and was tracking her every move. A mysterious package led her to Timothy Radcliffe, Diana's former private secretary, who had remained quietly loyal for years. Meeting him in a small candle-lit chapel outside Bath, Anne learned Diana had trusted a small circle of allies, prepared to act only if someone brave enough came forward. Timothy explained that the official investigation into Diana's death had ignored key evidence. Paris CCTV footage had disappeared, witnesses had been silenced, and sightings of a suspicious white Fiat were dismissed. Diana's death was orchestrated, and now Anne had stepped into her shadow. Threats began arriving more directly. A note slid under Anne's door read, "Stop digging or join her." The warning was clear, but fear no longer controlled Anne's decisions. With Diana's evidence in her possession, retreat was no longer an option. She understood that the same network that had hunted Diana was now targeting her nephews, William and Harry. Anne immersed herself in Diana's documents, cross-referencing financial records, travel logs, and photographs. A clear pattern emerged. a network of powerful people using charities and royal connections to divert funds, launder money, and conduct secret operations. People Diana had once trusted, socialites, businessmen, even members of the royal family, were implicated. Each layer of discovery revealed more betrayal and more danger. Among the evidence, Anne found Operation Marionette, a file detailing how Diana had been monitored by private security operatives and how her movements were controlled and restricted before her death. Grainy surveillance images showed Paris moments before the crash, confirming the presence of a second car traced back to associates of palace staff. The crash had been staged, and the perpetrators were still powerful, protected, and watching. Alone in her study, Anne allowed herself a moment of grief. For the first time, she truly saw Diana, not just as the public figure or a sister-in-law, but as a mother and a warrior, quietly fighting to protect her children. Tears fell as she realized how misunderstood Diana had been, misjudged as impulsive or attention-seeking when, in truth, she had been strategic, courageous, and painfully aware of the dangers around her. Anne knew that she had inherited more than evidence. She had inherited a mission, and the network would not sit idle. Threats soon became actions. Security teams reported attempts to infiltrate Prince George's school. Catherine and the children narrowly survived a suspicious car incident. Every step confirmed that the shadowy network was real, organized, and actively targeting Diana's family. Anne moved quickly, assembling a discreet, trusted team. She coordinated with a retired MI5 director and close security advisors, dispatching teams to watch over William, Harry, and the children. Her route out of Kensington was masked. Communications were scrambled. Every step was calculated to avoid detection. She carried with her flash drives, documents, and backup copies of all the material Diana had left behind. The first confrontations came close to home. Anne met privately with senior royals implicated in Diana's hidden reports. Calmly, she laid out the evidence, emphasizing that any harm to William, Harry, or their children would bring the truth into the public eye. For the first time, the silence that protected them no longer worked. Anne's words were firm. She would not allow secrecy or power to shield criminals, no matter how close they were to her. Meanwhile, surveillance confirmed ongoing threats. A delivery van tried to bypass security at William's estate, carrying blueprints, surveillance photos, and tampered vehicle brakes. It was not a theft. It was a warning. Anne monitored the situation closely as her security team intervened, ensuring her family remained safe. But the message was clear. The network wanted to intimidate and silence her before she could act further. Anne's resolve did not waver. She realized the danger was real, but the mission was bigger than fear. The truth Diana had left behind had to be shared. A public revelation became unavoidable. Anne called a press briefing in a secure location. Behind her were boxes of documents, digital archives, and tapes recovered from Diana's hidden collection. She addressed the world with clarity. For decades, the narrative about Diana had been incomplete. The truth of her courage, her strategy, and the risks she faced was finally revealed. The revelations caused immediate consequences. High-ranking officials, corporate executives, and even minor royals were investigated, resigned, or arrested. Offshore accounts were frozen. Investigations previously dismissed were reopened. The network Diana had uncovered began to unravel. A woman once mocked as emotional and impulsive was vindicated. Diana had not died for nothing. She had died protecting the truth and shielding her sons. In the aftermath, Anne founded the Diana Truth Foundation. Its purpose: to carry forward Diana's work through transparency, investigative journalism, and whistleblower protection. The goal was simple: ensure the world no longer allowed secrecy to cover corruption, and that Diana's courage continued to inspire and protect. Even after the immediate crisis passed, Anne revisited the jewelry box. Inside, she discovered a final cassette tape addressed to William and Harry, with instructions to be played only when the truth was revealed. Sitting alone, she pressed play. Diana's calm, steady voice filled the room. She spoke directly to her sons, encouraging them to act with courage, to understand the truth, and to carry forward the values she had fought to protect. The final gift was not wealth or status. It was guidance, love, and the knowledge that their mother's mission had been fulfilled. Princess Diana's life had always been portrayed through scandal and public fascination, but the truth was far deeper. She had been a protector, a whistleblower, a mother fighting to shield her children from hidden dangers. Through Princess Anne's determination, the secrets Diana left behind were finally brought to light. The world saw Diana not just as a symbol of compassion, but as a courageous woman who had acted despite fear, deception, and danger. Anne's actions ensured that the legacy of truth, courage, and vigilance would continue. The jewelry box, the letters, and the tapes became symbols of resilience and protection, a testament to a mother who refused to be silenced, and a sister-in-law who stepped into the shadows to continue her fight. The story didn't end with tragedy. It ended with action, with accountability, and with the understanding that the truth, no matter how long it had been hidden, could still come to light. Diana's mission, her final gift, was fulfilled not through ceremony or fame, but through the courage of those willing to carry it forward. Princess Anne hadn't just uncovered the past, she had helped protect the future. Diana's voice, once silenced, now resonates through every revealed secret, every exposed lie, and every act of justice that followed. Her legacy isn't just in history books or headlines. It lives in the truth she fought to protect and in the courage she inspired. The palace may still hold hidden stories, but one thing is clear. Even in silence, bravery has a power that cannot be ignored. If you found this story as compelling as we did, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay updated on more untold royal secrets.